Hello guys and welcome to this week's daily puzzles. Let's get right to it. So our first puzzle is Nodirbek's birthday extravaganza. So first of all, a happy birthday, and here we go. What do I see? Well, I see that we have a bishop that's exerting some pressure and a queen that is exerting some pressure. But sadly, we don't really have any completely threatening checks, as this would simply be contested by their bishop. So we have to somehow get our king into the open. The best way to get a king in the open obviously is by sacrificing a queen, because once they take, we have a discovered check available to us by moving our knight. Now the most forcing knight move that we have is moving our knight over here, as our bishop has discovered, our other bishop obviously has the king covered, and our knight would have the other exit covered, meaning that the king is forced to move over there. Now that the king has moved over, his backways are all covered off, his front exit is covered by the pawn, meaning that once we give the check using our knight, it will be checkmate. On to the second puzzle. For our second puzzle, Lights, Camera, Fork, we have a beautiful fork coming on, as the title suggests. What fork do we have? Well, obviously we start off by moving our knight over here, because not only does it attack the queen also has no options except going backwards. Because even if they were to, let's say, take the knight, then our rook would slide forward, taking the queen, and our queen had no other escapes, as everything else was covered. So let's say she moved over there, the pawn would take. If she took the pawn, the bishop would take. Everything forward would be covered by our rook, or the rook would be covered by our other rook, meaning that she is basically forced to go backwards. Now that she has moved backwards though, we still don't have that fork. Luckily for us though, we can actually create a fork by winning the bishop, sacrificing the rook, because once again the queen has no escapes as everything is covered by one of our pieces. And obviously the rook over there that had that covered. So they do what they can, but in the end our knight can slide forward, creating the fork, winning their queen. On to the third puzzle. The third puzzle, Promote Early and Often, looks like a typical pawn race, but there's slightly more under the hood. Namely being, if we were to move our pawn forward, then they would take, and we would not be able to either take their pawn in time, or to actually use the pressure that pawn created, as we would eventually lead to a stalemate, or possibly even worse, a loss. So instead we are actually going to move our king to the side, threaten to take this pawn seemingly, but actually even worse, bringing our king close enough so that once we sacrifice the pawn now, forcing them to take it, we can slide in, not under check, move in the other pawn under check, covered by our king, push it once more for promotion, giving the check, and then coming back for the checkmate. On to the fourth one. Our fourth puzzle is Royal Laser Tag. So what's the most forcing move we have? Well, obviously moving our rook over here, because by sacrificing it, we actually force them to use their king, because if they had used their own rook to take, then this would be available for our queen to slide over undercover from our bishop to deliver checkmate. However, they have actually delayed that. Now, it would be ideal if our queen could slide over and deliver the instant mate, but that obviously is covered by their queen. So we are going for the second best option, in this case being the best option, moving our queen over here, forcing the king forward. Now sadly we can't coordinate together with our bishop yet, but because our queen now is exerting a ton of pressure, we can actually force the king to move somewhere else, namely being over here, by moving our bishop over. With the check and the king moved over there, we can actually create a skewer now, because the queen, or rather our queen, can now slide over and actually go for the skewer. The king is forced to move to the side, as they could interpose with the rook, but under cover from our bishop that would simply be throwing away pieces. But now we win their queen. On to the fifth and final puzzle. Our fifth and final puzzle this week is Checkmate around the bend. Let's get right to it. So what do I see? Well, I see that our rook is currently under attack from their king. So let's start off by saving that. Now we could do it by moving our rook over here, also preventing their pawns from promoting, but that would simply lead to them coordinating their pawns, eventually promoting one of them anyway. So instead we are going to do the best thing we can, which is a forced move on them, being the check from our rook, forcing them in the corner due to our knight-rook combination. After which we actually can now slide our rook over, keeping the pressure up on the king, and yes, they could slide it over, but now we would simply be able to go for a perpetual check at that point, leading to us drawing. We don't want to draw though, so now that they have coordinated their pawns with a slight delayed tempo, we can actually deliver the check. Once again, if they moved, this time they are forced to move to the side, as obviously our rook prevents the other exit and our knight prevents its other option. Now finally, it no longer matters if they promote either pawn, because our king can now slide over, locking the king in, and if they had promoted their other pawn, then the current pawn would have blocked said queen. Now that their king is completely locked in the back rank, we can deliver another check. The king obviously has the exits locked out, and our rook has the other exit locked out, meaning that it can only move to the side, leaving space for our rook to slide over and deliver checkmate. I hope that was clear. If not, feel free to reel back and watch again. Or go to chess.com and watch the explanation there, because even after watching that, I still found this one pretty complicated. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, and see you next week. Bye.